Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Nate Bailey, and today we're going to be talking about hard hats. Yes, your brain bucket. The thing that keeps you from being impaled from above. So let's get into it. So the hard hats are covered under ANSI 89.1. The most current year right now is 2014. And that is driven down by OSHA, who covers hard hats in the general industry under 29 CFR 1910, 135, and 29 CFR 1926.100. Both of those deal with hard hats depending on whether you're working on a construction site or if you're working on in general industry. So let's get into it. One of the things I want to also mention is that the Canadian Standard Association, the CAS, Canadian Standard Association, it's covered under Z94.1. The type and class are the same for Canada and the United States. So there's two types of hard hats. Type 1 hard hats protect you from impacts from above. And type 2 hard hats protect you from impacts from above, but also from the side. So that's the difference between a type 1 and type 2. Now there are also three classes of hard hats. There's class G, E, and C. Class G, general, protects you from low voltage conductors. So it'll protect you up to 2,200 volts. A class E, which is what electricians primarily wear, at least I hope they're primarily wearing them, are covered. The class E hard hat has protection up to 20,000 volts. And then class C, which has no protection at all, no electrical protection. So if you're working around any kind of electrical stuff, or potential electrical hazards, get a class G hard hat. That's what I always get. I get a type 2 class G, and that protects me from the work that I'm doing generally on site. You find all that information. This hard hat, you'll notice there's a sticker in there, and that sticker will tell you what type of hard hat it is and what class it falls under. So there's some markings that will be on the inside on that sticker. It covers manufacturer information. It'll also tell you that it's it'll also tell you that it's ANSI Z89.1 compliant, and it'll also tell you what type and class and the approximate head size. Let's talk about service life. Now, a lot of manufacturers in the past and a lot of people, like the consensus was 5 years after it's manufactured, it's dead, you shouldn't use it anymore. Now, how do you tell when it was manufactured? If you look here on most rims, see that little dial there? Come on, focus in on that. So there's a dial usually on the brim of your hat, like that, with a little arrow. It's got 1 through 12. The arrow will point to the month that it was manufactured, and on either side of the arrow, there's a 2-digit number. That's the year. So if this hard hat was made in August of 2019, the arrow would be pointing to the 8, and on either side of the arrow it'd have a 19. So that's when you know when the born-on date is. Now, most of the manufacturers are moving to not being so saying that it's 5 years after manufacturing. They're basically saying now 5 years or so after use. So sometimes I'll write the date inside on the sticker of when I put my hard hat in service. That way you know when you come up to about 5 years, you need to replace it. Hard hats do not last forever. Keep that in mind. This hard hat, you can't buy a hard hat and then wear it for the next 20 years. So the manufacturers basically say 12 months for the harness. So this harness, you should be replacing it every year. And shells, they're saying 2 to 5 years, depending on the use, how much you're outside. So if you're a construction worker and you're outside a lot, UV, ultraviolet light, not radiation, excuse me, ultraviolet light will damage the hard hat. So right now this has a pretty good shine on it, so it's in good shape. If your hard hat, if you notice that it starts to get kind of chalky looking, your UV, it's starting to have UV damage, and you should replace it. So there's some other features on hard hat that are optional that you might notice on the sticker inside for working in low temperature atmospheres, like if you're working in an area that's got really low temperature, or if you're working in the middle of the winter up above the Arctic Circle and it's really cold, you gotta have a special hard hat for that. That's designated with an LT for lower temperature. Conversely, HT, high temperatures, so if like you're working around boilers and things like that, or places with a lot of heat or high temperatures that could damage the hard hat, they have hard hats that can withstand higher temperatures than what the general hard hat is for. Also, you could get one with HV for high visibility. They usually have retroreflective tape or on them so that people can see you from a far distance. So, in the past, one of the things that we used to have a lot of debate on in the field was whether someone could wear their hard hat backwards. So sometimes you'd see guys take their hard hat and wear it backwards. Even sometimes they'd switch the gear, the harness around, so that this part wasn't in the front, it was still in the back, so it'd be comfortable. But in the past, testing for these was only tested with the brim forward, and that's the only way it was certified. So you could not, technically by the standard or by OSHA, wear it backwards. Even though it might not have been very comfortable or be useful for what you were doing, like welders sometimes would not, would need to turn it around so that their hood could come down. Thankfully, over the years, equipment's gotten a lot better, and that's not really much of an issue. As a matter of fact, a lot of the manufacturers are now testing the hard hats forward and backwards. So, if you see this on your hard hat, this symbol, that means that that hard hat is certified and been tested whether the brim's in the front or in the back. So if you're wearing it backwards or reversed donning, which they call reverse donning. So keep that in mind. You want to look inside at the sticker again, and all that information will be in there. All right, let's talk about inspections. So I've been on a lot of sites, especially sites that run a long time. They like to issue stickers for training or issue stickers for major milestones. And you look at some of the hard hats and there's just stickers everywhere. Now OSHA does not specifically point out, they do not specifically say no stickers on the hard hat or no markings. I mean, as you, I'm covering up a sticker now. It's actually a company name. So they can be on the hard hats. What I caution is if you got more sticker on your hard hat than open space, you probably should get a new hard hat. Because you just can't see if there's damage to your hard hat. Also, you don't want stickers too close to the lip. You don't want them to kind of run on the all the way up to the edge. You want to at least have a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch gap between the edge and where your sticker is, just because if the crack develops on the side, you may not see it, because people tend to just look at the top of their hard hat and not inspect the bottom of the shell. So make sure you're inspecting the top and the bottom. Surface scratches are fine, but anything deeper than that or more than that, you need to get rid of your hard hat. When it's no longer serviceable. You want to like flex it, make sure that it still kind of will take a little bit of a beating. I've heard stories and talked to people that when they did the flex test on the hard hat, it was cracked in half. So you much rather want to find that out in the morning when you do your inspection every day, I might add, before something falls on your head and then your hard hat fails. So keep that in mind. This is kind of the first video, we haven't talked about hierarchy of controls and about PPE, but PPE is your last defense. If all other controls have been put in place to protect you from the hazards on job site, your PPE is your last defense. If your PPE fails, you could get hurt, and you could get hurt badly. Also, there's usually on my job sites a lot of debate about baseball caps. MSA in their literature actually says no baseball caps, and I agree with them. It does not allow the hard hat to sit on your head properly and snugly like it's designed to. I generally wear a welder's cap underneath mine if it's a really hot day out during the summer, but bandanas and other things like do-rags, bandanas, handkerchiefs are all okay, welder's caps, as long as when you put your hard hat on, that's able to snugly be able to fit on your head properly. During the winter, I'm not really big on people wearing ski caps. Especially if they got balls and things like that on top of them. But luckily, all the manufacturers produce warm weather gear for your hard hat that actually fits in it properly and is tested so that you know when you're wearing it, your hard hat's sitting on your head like it's supposed to, and that you're getting the protection that you're required to get. So that's kind of like inspection of the hard hat. I want to go over some questions I get a lot, especially from new people that come onto the job site. So I just want to kind of go over a few questions that I wrote up here. All right. So, do you need to replace a hard hat if it sustains an impact? Yes. Just like any other PPE and protective gear and OSHA, once you've had an impact, or kind of like with fall protection, once you've had a fall in a harness, it's out of service. Same with a hard hat. So if you have something fall on your head and this sustains an impact, take it out of service immediately, get a new hard hat. Can you mix and match suspensions from like different hard hats or manufacturers? Most of the manufacturers, you need to check with their literature. Most of what I read online, no, because they actually test the shell and the harness together as one unit. So unless it specifically says in the tag on the inside that you can swap this out with something else, don't do it, because then it might not protect you like it's designed to. How do you clean and store your hard hat? I generally, about once a month or so, will take it out and just kind of wash it with some mild soap and warm water. I try not to store it in my car, especially on hot days in the summer, to where it can get heated up and then cool off. Same with like storing it in a garage or something. I usually bring it in so that it stays at a relatively constant temperature. So, can I put anything beneath my hard hat? So, I've seen people at times put things between the harness and the shell, and like store things in the top of their hard hat while they're out working on the job site. Don't do that, because if you do have an impact, you don't know what that might do or how it might hurt you when you have an impact to your head. So do not store items inside your hard hat. Get a safety vest with pockets and store them in your pockets. So if your hard hat gets really dirty, or if you get something that's sticky like sap or tar or something like that on your hard hat, do not use solvents to clean your hard hat. You know, your hard hat is plastic and the solvents can break down the hard hat, and then if you have an impact, you won't be protected. If you get something on your hard hats that's sticky or something that you can't wash off with just a mild soap and warm water, then take the hard hat out of service and go buy a new hard hat. These are not that expensive. You know, 20 bucks or so and you can get a new hard hat. And most companies have them on hand and they're free to the employees because it's PPE. So you're not really dipping into your own pocket to replace your hard hat. Don't ever alter the hard hat. Don't drill holes in it because it's hot out. Don't airbrush it. Like if you're an artist, don't airbrush it. I've had some people show up on sites. They're awesome artists. They're beautiful. Like some of the stuff that they paint onto their hard hat was amazing. But now you can't inspect it. So, you know, if you want a sports team, you can buy hard hats that are colored, have sports teams on them, have all that, have patriotic symbols on them, like eagles and things and flags. There's a ton of stuff out there. Don't do that yourself. Because they're making it that way, and then if there's damage done to the hard hat, you can see it. And it's been tested that way. So keep that in mind before you go and be creative with your hard hat. The only other thing I want to leave you with on this is Western cowboy style hard hats. And I wish I had one to show you what it looks like, but it basically looks like a Stetson. At times I've seen those hard hats, when it hits the brim just right, they'll flip off your head. And then if there's more than one thing falling on you, you don't have any protection anymore. So I'm not a big fan of those hard hats, even though they meet the ANSI standards. So just something to keep in mind. You know, hard hats, and when it comes to PPE, preference plays a big role in it. Make sure you're using things that are comfortable and fit you well, because I've found out over the years, if your PPE doesn't fit you, you're not going to wear it. Well, safety people are going to, and other workers on your side are going to walk up on you all the time. Your hard hat's going to be sitting right next to you while you're doing work instead of being on your head. So always make sure that you get something that's the proper size. So what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, simple. Especially with PPE, always make sure you're wearing your PPE. If it's required on site, make sure it's on your head while you're in the zone. Make sure you're inspecting it every single day. Like, it might seem crazy, like, you see your hard hat every day, but how closely do you look at it? Like, how closely are you really looking at to see if there's gouges, like when you threw it in your trunk last night and it hit the jack, and now you got a big gouge in it. And when you need it, it's going to be there for you. All right, everyone. Thank you again. I'm really enjoying doing these videos. And always remember, be safe, ask questions, and take care of each other. Subscribe down below. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
The road ahead, it twists and turns and